I've redone all the bushes that need to be rebushed. And as you can see there, as I turn the plates up, all the wheels are standing perpendicular as opposed to what they were looking like before, higgledy-piggledy all over the place, and a couple of 10% plus. Alright, so they've all been done. Now we're ready to start putting the wheels back into the movement. We'll start off with the strike side train. First thing we do is we put the great wheel back on again. Turn the plate over, align the pivot and the bush at the back. There we go. Push it down to hold it in place. Now we'll put T1 in. And it will stand up pretty well there in that position. However, when you're first starting off, and if you haven't actually done the rebushing on your clock that is necessary, you will find that wheels are going to flop all over the place. So how we solve that problem initially is we use some Rotiko or some blue tack or white tack in this instance. Just get a blob of it, open it up and push it onto the wheel, the last wheel, and then down onto the plate. That will hold the wheel quite firm so that when you're lifting it up, putting the plate on, setting the pivots into the bushes, the wheels aren't going to flop around so much. Put T3 in now, which goes there. Once again, we'll hold that down with some blue tack or Rotiko or white tack or whatever you're using. We'll get a bit more for that. Roll it up a bit, flatten it out, put it over the wheel and down onto the plate. And there we have it. Remembering that this blue tack doesn't leave a mark on the wheels or on the plate, so it's okay to use. You won't have to clean it after you've used it. Now we'll put the top plate on, starting off with fitting the winding arbor in through its hole there, then pushing the bottom of the top plate down. What we'll do now is we'll put a nut on the bottom of that just to hold it in place. We don't want it wound down tightly, it's just to stop the bottom plate moving around while we put the other wheels in. Alright, now holding the two plates together, not tightly, rather loosely, in your hand, with our trusty new pivot tool, we can now align the pivots with the bushes. You heard that one click in. We'll go up to the next one. It's not quite on the post. Right, they're in. Down to T3, pull him into line, dropped into the hole, into the pivot. T2 is very close. That feels like they're in there, right. At this stage we can't spin them round to make sure they're all fully correct, because we've got Rotiko or blue tack on them. So we'll put a nut on that pillar there. Then we can remove the blue tack for the movement. Now, you can check once again, make sure everything's in. We can now spin the wheel, T1, we can see the other wheels moving round quite freely. Right, I'll take the top plate off again. Now that you've seen how to put the wheels in using blue tack, I'll take the nuts off here. And we take the top plate off. Then we'll put the rest of the wheels in. And we'll put all the pivots into the bushes at the same time. Take that off. Take off the top plate. There we go. Put T1 back in again. I'll put our blue tack back on where it was. That'll hold the time side wheels in place. One there. One on T3. Which goes there. Now the great wheel on the strike side. Align its pivot up with the bush. Not quite, almost. It's in behind that pin, and there we've got it. Now, S1, first wheel, actually that has to go down under there. Fits in underneath there. S2, maintenance cam. Goes into that pivot there. We'll put some blue tack on that to hold that in place so it doesn't move around. Attach it to the back plate. We'll have to move that over a bit. Now S3, the warning wheel, which goes in to that pivot there. The fly sits there. However, we won't be putting the fly in at the moment because we've got to set up the 3 points that we must have set up correctly for an American kitchen clock to work properly, so we'll leave that out for the moment. Turn our movement round. Now our top plate. Fit the escape wheel in. That's got him. Put the top plate on. Align it over the winding arbors, those two there. Now we push the top plate down a tiny bit and put a nut on that post there, and it needs to be wound down a couple of times to hold it in place because nothing's been settled yet. And have a look. Yes, that's just in there, but that's still in. Yeah, all right. We'll put a nut on the other pillar down here on the bottom. 2 or 3 turns to hold it. And when you're setting pivots into bushes, you always start down at the bottom end of the movement where the great wheel is, then work up towards the top. You do it left and right on each side. You don't do the time train and then change over and do the strike train. So we'll start off with the time stride here. Get T1 into place. Get that aligned. There we go. Now, as I mentioned before, in this type of movement, the escape wheel usually has a very long arbor, so that will need to be sorted and the pivot put into its bush, or we're not going to get anywhere on the rest of the pivot bush combinations. Alright, that's in. So back, check our time side, T1. Hold the plate, turn it round. We look at S1 now. Which needs to come back to here. Push that into there, and that should have it. Right, now yep, that's okay. Now down to the maintenance cam. That's aligned. Hold the plates together. Then come back to this side, the time side. We can now start to remove some of our blue tack. It's going to get in the way of getting the pivots and bushes aligned. T2 goes over to there, just clicked in. Very nice, thank you. Now T3 down there. That's got him. Now we'll put a nut on that pillar there. 1 or 2 turns to hold it. We don't want to break any pivots off. I'll remove the blue tack on those wheels because we're finished with it. Get that out of the road. Right, back to the strike side again, check see what we've got. S1's in, S2, and I'll take this blue tack out. The escape wheel has come out, that's why it's not getting there. Got him, back in again. Now, S3, that's got him. Whoop, flopped out the bottom. Okay, they look alright. Now I'll put a nut on this post here. Tighten him down a little bit. We can now have a look and see what we've got in the way of wheels, whether we're in good shape or not. That's the strike side. You can see moving there. But the time side ones have moved. I'll loosen that nut off, slide them back, T3 back into there, T2 up to there. Nut back on again. Tie him down a bit. There we go. And there we have got the wheels all in the correct orientation and spinning freely. That's how easy it is to put your wheels back into your movement using a bit of blue tack. You'll find that it's not worthwhile trying to tie, for example, T1 here down on the arbor, down to the back plate here. There's not enough surface area to grip with your blue tack, so that's why we put it on the wheel and then wind it down. In next week's lesson, we will learn how to set up an American kitchen gingerbread clock movement so the clock will run properly. We will be looking in depth at the lift lever, what functions it performs, and how it is activated. If you want to learn how to service, repair and restore 19th and 20th century mechanical clocks, then subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell.